How to form simple sentences in Spanish. Hola, welcome to a new video about Spanish grammar. This time, we will analyze the structure of simple sentences in Spanish, that is, the parts that compose them. This topic is very important because it will allow you to identify the essential components of sentences so that you can communicate meaningfully and know the grammar behind what you say at the same time. We will focus specifically on how to identify the subject and the predicate of sentences with simple explanations, examples, and exercises. Let's start. What do we call oraciones in Spanish? The Royal Spanish Academy defines sentences, las oraciones, as a syntactic structure formed by a subject and a predicate. In other definitions, it is referred to as the smallest unit of speech with complete meaning. In simple terms, a sentence is the description of an action that someone or something performs. For example, Carlos aprende español, or el barco es inmenso. How to form sentences in Spanish. All sentences in Spanish have two specific parts, el sujeto, the subject, and el predicado, the predicate. Next, we will analyze in detail both parts of sentences in Spanish. El sujeto. El sujeto, or the subject, is a person, animal, or thing that performs the action expressed by the verb. To understand this more clearly, let's analyze these two examples of simple sentences in Spanish. Marcos vive en Taiwán. Marcos vive en Taiwán. First, it is important that you can recognize the main verbs or actions in these sentences. In the first example, the main verb is vivir. By itself, the verb vivir cannot be considered a sentence, but when we conjugate it and say vive en Taiwán, then we can say it is a sentence. To identify the subject, always ask ¿qué, quién, or quiénes perform the action in the sentence. Taking these into account, for the first sentence we would ask ¿quién vive en Taiwán? Marcos. By making this question, we can tell Marcos is the subject of the sentence. Alicia encontró al conejo. Alicia encontró al conejo. In the case of the second sentence, we should simply ask ¿quién encontró el conejo? The answer would be Alicia, that is, the subject of the second sentence. El predicado. Now that we have explained a little about the subject, let's talk about the predicate of the sentence. Well, the predicate is the part of the sentence that preaches something about the subject, and whose core is generally a verb that agrees with the core of the subject. To put it more simply, the predicate is everything that is part of the sentence, including the verb and its respective complements, except for the subject. Let's analyze a couple of sentences. El poeta publicó sus primeras obras en Chile. El poeta publicó sus primeras obras en Chile. In this sentence, ¿quién publicó sus primeras obras en Chile? El poeta. Taking into account that el poeta is the subject, the rest of the sentence would become the predicate, that is to say, publicó sus primeras obras en Chile. Los robots sirven para tareas especializadas. Los robots sirven para tareas especializadas. In the second sentence, ¿qué es lo que sirve para tareas especializadas? Los robots. As you can infer, los robots is the subject and the rest is the predicate. Some important considerations. It is possible to omit the subject of sentences in Spanish, as long as you conjugate the verb properly. In this case, the sentences would have something we call sujeto tácito, that is, a subject that we cannot see or that is implicit at the beginning. For example, llueve todos los días. Llueve todos los días, where the subject could be a place. Compré algunos regalos. Compré algunos regalos, where the subject is the pronoun yo. The core of the subject, or its most important part, is usually a noun or a personal pronoun. For example, ellos son mis amigos. Ellos son mis amigos, where ellos is the core of the subject. Los niños juegan ajedrez. Los niños juegan ajedrez, where niños is the core of the subject. The verb is the core of the predicate, and essentially the most important part in a sentence. Let's take a look at these two examples. ¿Tú viste las noticias? ¿Tú viste las noticias? Where viste from the verb ver is the core of the predicate. Apresúrate, por favor, where apresurarse is the verb and the core of the predicate. The verb is usually accompanied by complements. These complements are useful to communicate the message in the sentence more clearly and efficiently. There are many types of complements, which we will study in detail in future lessons. Take a look at these two examples for now. El niño come una manzana. El niño come una manzana, where una manzana is a direct object complement. La abuela le da un juguete al niño. La abuela le da un juguete al niño, where al niño is an indirect object complement. Practice. Next, we will present some simple sentences in Spanish. Your job is to identify the elements of the sentence that we have explained in the video. You will have 5 seconds to answer each question. Are you ready? Let's start. El teléfono es muy caro. What is the subject? El teléfono. El primer vuelo sale a las 5 de la tarde. What is the verb? Sale, from the verb salir. ¿Cuál es el sujeto? El primer vuelo. Carmen olvidó su cartera. What is the predicate? Olvidó su cartera. Alberto lavó los trastes. What is the complement? Los trastes. We have reached the end of the video. We hope the explanations and examples were easy to follow. Like it, share it, and subscribe to our channel if you would like to continue learning with us. Hasta pronto!